Well, lunatics, we're live-ish. It's just me today, but I wanted to just do something kind of crazy. I just wanted to watch a handful of videos and share them with you because I just found them like incredibly compelling from the Beirut explosion that happened yesterday. So Mike and I yesterday didn't even mention it because it wasn't on either of our radars, but occurs to me, I might as well introduce the show in case there are a handful of lunatics out there who aren't familiar yet with the show. So let's see what happens, and then maybe if things go better than yesterday, the actual music will come through. Let's see. Welcome to hotlou Happy Hour. I am your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat explosively known as Hot Lou. I thought I had time during this whole mess to actually get through and start my watch party. However, Facebook has changed the way that you can start the watch party. So it's changing things quite a bit. There used to be a little button that said share in the middle of your as you were watching things, but it's not there anymore. So starting the watch party has become just a little bit more of a challenge. So I'm trying to make this happen now, and it's maybe not going to happen. You know what, lunatics, I trust in you. So I'm gonna try to get the, here we go. Start the watch party, search for live videos. Here we go. And watch party started. All right. We'll see if we got any live viewers left. We got maybe a handful left. So with that, yeah, I thought we would just watch a couple of these videos because they're really quite, it's just insane to watch them. I'm sure a handful of you have already seen these videos, but it's really like chilling. And I've just been kind of watching every single one of them that I can get my hands on in the last day here. But as I talk about it here, I'm going to start. Have you seen the Beirut explosion videos? Explosion videos. Yes. No. We'll be pretty curious to see how many of you have already watched them. But yeah, so today I just wanted to kind of share some of these videos because they're really, it's even beyond chilling. For those of you who are going to tune in and hopefully be interested in this, I'm curious to know also, and maybe I'll start a live poll on this as well, but I'm curious how many of you have kind of watched these videos of the Tianjin explosion from like 2 years ago. And as I watched those explosion videos from Tianjin, in fact, I'm going to pull those up too. It occurs to me that, in fact, let's do that first, because some of the these multiple angle videos of the explosion in China they were just unbelievable. And as I watched the Beirut ones, because the one in China happened and it was because it was dark, I think the scale was lost, and it wasn't during daylight, so there wasn't maybe as visible of this like mushroom cloud. So it'll be interesting to see what the lunatics here think of this whole thing, but I'm going to share my screen, and I could use some feedback from you lunatics on whether or not the audio is coming through, because We've had a couple issues over the last couple months here. So let's start by watching this, the Shenzhen videos. You know what's amazing is watching this.
我日他妈！哎呦！我去！我操！
So lunatics, if you wouldn't mind, let me know if the audio is actually coming through.
我操！哎呦！这四周人，我操！
I think what we're about to see is even the bigger explosion. Because that first, yeah. And that loud, like delayed bang that comes after the explosion is just so terrifying. And it's one of the things that as I've watched like some of these other explosion videos, it's pretty fascinating to see the delay that, you know, because obviously the sound is only traveling at about, well, the sound is traveling roughly, I think, what is it, 800 feet per second or something like that. But the actual pressure wave, that explosive wave, comes always just a little bit later, or it comes with the sound or kind of around that same time. And so, you know, obviously you see the explosion and then there's like this like couple second wait, and let's watch that again maybe. And I think probably, yeah. So, you know, this was that second one, and it, like that light just fills up the entire screen. And let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it was a good 7 seconds afterwards that you hear that like explosion. So that tells you that it was roughly a mile away, a little bit more than a mile away, that happened. And obviously like the person's phone goes flying here. So the pressure wave definitely like knocked them to the ground, or, you know, scary. Yeah. So it's really hard. I wonder what the like mushroom cloud might have looked like in this particular case if it was daylight, because, you know, obviously it fills up the screen so much that it just felt like the light and everything, it just had to be so much bigger than what you're seeing with this Beirut explosion. So I'll share the screen here on the Beirut one. And we'll go through here the couple of minutes, because you can see this like that pressure wave and all of that condensation in that cloud is really that pressure wave like pushing that out and causing like the immediate fogging up and condensation in the air. And it looks like, I mean, it looks like straight out of a cartoon for that like mushroom cloud. And if we can go, I don't know if we can go slow or not. Oh, we missed it. But you can see, like, in this one, let me pause it. Like I paused it kind of right at the right moment here. There's this big, huge fireball, and then that pressure wave starts. And let me slow down. I think we can change the playback speed to a quarter speed and watch it. You can see yeah, I would be panicking if I saw that too. That just gigantic, like the size of that pressurized fog cloud that goes all around just had to be, I mean, it looked like it was a mile in the air. It just looked gigantic. And obviously they're panicking and trying to take some cover. And even when it happens, here, let me turn the volume down just a little bit. You're still like a few seconds away from hearing the explosion. Here, I'll turn it back to regular speed. This is the one that really, you know what? I'm gonna watch this one we'll watch this one at quarter speed because it's like what you'll see here is pretty fascinating because you'll see that pressure wave move through. And like I said before, it really looks like straight out of like a Hollywood movie or a cartoon where you see like that upward like explosiveness hitting these buildings in front. And hopefully in this video here, it shows one other thing that I want to point out. So maybe I need to go a little bit farther here until the actual explosion happens. So let me jump ahead. Oh, too far. So what's happening here is there are like little fireworks going off here. You can probably see it. And then immediately that explosion is so huge. I mean, it's hundreds, if not thousands of feet in the air. And you can see this like upward pressure. And this person just completely panics. And I think in this one, you can even see some of the glass breaking as he gets kind of knocked. Whoever's taking the camera can takes to try to find some cover. This one too is really interesting. Like, I can't imagine seeing this. I mean, look at how huge that looks from the ground. I mean, it looks huge from that. Oh man. But I think even watching these like this, oh, and there's the explosion reaching the car. But even watching these compared to that Shenzhen video, it feels like this was a much smaller explosion by comparison because the night sky with the Shenzhen one just fills up with light. But it turns out they're estimating this was probably 3 times larger than that. And that Shenzhen explosion was I think the largest in like decades, or one of the like 2 or 3 largest, accidents ever. So it's been kind of a little bit of a surprise here. Let me move this over to regular speed. Oh, I haven't seen this one. This one's pretty. Wow. And I've got one more to share in a little bit, but man, these guys are inside. You can see how scary that must have been.
Jesus, you're.
This one too, I really wish that. Oh man, look at this. I haven't seen a couple of these. Wow. And to just be sitting there like having no idea and just having this explosion go off, like, and it looks like there's enough damage that they were probably close to it, but so far away that they might not even have known what happened. It's got to be terrifying. Maybe I should make this screen full screen here. Yeah. Oh, yes. A handful of these I haven't seen. But oh wow, and you can hear. I don't know if the audio came through. I turned the volume way down. Let me turn it up just a little bit. But you could hear all the glass breaking right there. Oh my God. Oh. So this must have been some of the aftermath from one of that previous video. But I did see this one before. And you could kind of get a sense for how far away they were. And all the windows are broken out and like a bunch of stuff is destroyed in here. Wow. And you can look at this. Every single window is broken on all of these buildings. And all of these cars are just, you can even see the car windows are broken out, which I'm hoping that in this compilation video, it shows up. Man, this person seems to be on foot and not far away either. Wow. Oh, it looks like they were probably in their car. Hmm. Oh, and we didn't get to see the end there. But the other one that I want to show, and there's a handful of other ones too, that weren't in this compilation, but there's this one here that I wanted to show that was pretty interesting, that has gotten already 300,000 views. But check this out. This woman is just taking video and photography around her. Yeah, let me go full screen on this because it's like, and it's not clear how far away this was from the actual explosion. But like the juxtaposition here of like no visual warning at all, and clearly having like no idea what just happened. Man, I can't even imagine. As I try to make my things here. Yeah, I'm curious, how many of you have watched the, oh, what's happening here? That's so funny. So the video that I just played, it auto played the next video was here. I have to show. This is pretty funny because I was going to bring this up, but the next video that it played automatically was the Axios on HBO with the Donald Trump interview with Jonathan Swan, which obviously is pretty hysterical. And given the juxtaposition here, given that for those of you who watched Trump's press conference yesterday, he outright said the explosion was, he said something like it was an attack. And immediately the Pentagon was like, I think the Pentagon literally called his comments nonsense, which for a commander-in-chief, that's got to be pretty disappointing. 10-gen video, explosion videos. I'm going to try to stall here. And just did. Well, I find one other thing of these shockwave videos, because what I find is pretty interesting about these, that all of the shockwave type of things, is it can be really, you know, as you're watching that explosion happen, because you're getting this visual indicator and you're so used to just like watching this explosion happen, or when you watch events happen, that you hear it almost immediately, with the exception of like distant fireworks or lightning. It's pretty rare for you to see an event and it's loud enough that there's that delay. And one of the things that watching enough of these videos that has kind of scared me with is that the shockwave, like if you see an explosion like that, you need to like cover your ears and protect yourself, because there's a big shockwave, pressure wave, and loud noise coming, and people have their hearing kind of blown out. Oh, sorry, there's, should have had an audio warning here, but I don't even know what this, I don't know what that explosion is from. And it looks like there's probably going to be a shockwave coming. Oh, there it was. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it. It came across really slowly. So that's what he was freaking out about. Here's another one. So this looks like it's not in slow motion. I'm going to turn down the volume just a little bit. This looks like it's big enough that the shockwave should have already arrived. And it, oh, okay, it did. I just missed it. I jumped forward. But here it is in slow motion. So you can see that shockwave go all the way across. These planned explosions too, watching it come, like watching it like come across the valley like that is crazy. I'm hoping that that this one includes that there's a chemical plant explosion from super far away. this isn't it. I don't know. This must have been maybe a Challenger.
It didn't go.
That must have been some sort of rocket launch. But let's see, chemical plant explosion. I'll be curious to see what this one. Yeah, this is the one that I've seen kind of over and over. And this is kind of the one thing that, other than like when you see things kind of explode, and that like delay, I think that one of the big takeaways that I've had with this is that if you're watching some sort of fire happen and it's at some sort of like industrial complex, that there's like no safe distance. If you can see it, you're probably in danger. And that was one of the things that even before I saw the initial explosion with the Beirut thing, kind of was going through my mind, is like, oh, if you can see this thing between the chemical plant explosion that I'm about to show you here, the Tianjin explosion, and now this Beirut one, it's just like, I think if you can see a fire at any sort of industrial facility of any kind, it's a really good, I think, policy to realize that there's really no safe point. So here, let me show you this. And if I remember right, this guy is, I think he's like a couple miles away. He might be like a mile and a half away from the actual facility here with like some sort of telescoping lens here.
Of the rocket fuel is held. If the chemicals exceed 716 degrees Fahrenheit, the entire area will combust. Then, the unforgettable.
Boy, that destroyed everything. My God.
Yeah, and you can see the shockwave here. Watch
As
it.
the explosion erupts, a powerful shockwave careens across the landscape, and a car traveling along an adjacent highway is caught in the blast. Multicolored smoke indicates that volatile chemicals continue to burn, leaving one to question.
Yeah, and now this is after it. So that explosion probably looked really, really bad. And then again, like to the point that I was just making, like if you see one of these like industrial areas on fire, and even if it explodes, and we saw this with the Tianjin explosion, like those first explosions, it might feel like, oh, the worst of it is over, but it might have actually just triggered another explosion about to happen. And I think that's what happened here. And in fact, it looks like that's what happened in Beirut as well, is that there were a couple of smaller explosions before that large one.
Did the blast detonate all of the rocket fuel inside the plant?
Yeah, and the narrator just said it. Did that explosion detonate all of it? It's a good question, and you can obviously never know.
Did the blast detonate all of the rocket fuel inside the plant?
Yeah.
The explosion is massive. Its shockwave.
And that explosion was way, way worse.
It completely decimates this building.
As you can see, that secondary one, like the narrator just said, it completely destroys this building when the first explosion did not.
The blast is so strong, it registers an earthquake measuring 3.5 on the Richter scale, 600 miles away.
Wow. What did he say? How big on the 6 miles away? Or 60 miles away?
There's an earthquake measuring 3.5 on the Richter scale, 600 miles away.
600 miles away. So that's from Minneapolis. That's almost Minneapolis to Denver. That it created a 3.5. Like, imagine something going off in, let's call it Denver, and actually feeling it in Minneapolis.
Sure that's all that's stored in that damn area?
2 people were killed in the massive explosions. What you are looking at is $100 million worth of destruction.
Man. Yeah. Oh, this is the video that I wanted specifically to show about this Beirut explosion, because it was one of the ones that really was pretty compelling. It's the second clip here. Okay, so this looks like a photo and just panning up on the photo. But this video is crazy. So there's somebody driving and recording the fire. And then the sound reaches them almost, it sounds like the sound reaches them almost immediately. But if you can see here, all the glass got blown out, and this looks like all of the side curtain airbags went off too. And his windshield got destroyed, or his rear view mirror got knocked off. Here, I'm going to turn down the volume again. But yeah, let's watch that again. So even in regular speed, you can see the glass flying through the car. And yeah, you can see the side curtain airbags are all off. Let's see if we can watch that in slow motion, actually. I'm going to pause it right here. Put it in quarter speed, because I'm pretty sure you can see all the glass flying out. Yeah. It immediately just destroys. And I don't know if you've ever watched videos of people trying to break windows on a car. They are so strong. It seems like kind of lip service from the automotive industry, saying that, you know, your windows in your vehicle actually help the structural integrity in an accident. They're very difficult. Like, it's really kind of funny when news anchors and things try to break a window with a hammer, and they can't do it because they're so strong. That should be a really big indicator to you how powerful that blast was. Oh, I haven't seen this video either. Good news, looks like these people are okay, despite being so close. That's so crazy too, because the window didn't break on that car or anything, but yet you can see him flinching, or the driver flinching, and you can hear the audio in there as the shockwave arrives.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Well, the good news on that one too is you can hear the people kind of yelling, so they seem like they were, maybe they could have been hurt, but it seemed like they got away okay. These water ones, I've been very curious to know what happens to these like nearby ships, but I can't, or boats, or even what happens after the shockwave arrives on these. But most of them cut off right as the shockwave arrives. But yeah, pretty sad day. I mean, 100 people are now dead, at least, and it seems like 100 more people are missing. And you know, kind of harkens back to this weird thing that I don't know who originally said this, but there's a pretty famous quote about, you know, one death is a tragedy, and a million deaths is a statistic. And that's kind of what it feels like right now in some way, given that, you know, a lot of people are talking about this event like it's a gigantic deal, and it obviously is. But, you know, by comparison, we're talking about, you know, coronavirus just in the United States is 1,500 of those explosions, which is pretty scary. Yeah. And to loyal lunatic Jonathan Algren's point here, he said he heard from his generals that it was an attack and it sounded like an attack rather than an accident. But yet Trump's having a hard time pronouncing the word Yosemite and seems to want to reduce things like the coronavirus into a platitude that just says it is what it is. Pretty bananas. I also heard somebody say something interesting the other day, maybe it was yesterday, that at this, it's like 8 or 9 commercial airlines have crashed every single day for 100 straight days, and that's how many deaths we're looking at. But there's still people out there. I mean, I'm part of a Facebook group that a large percentage of them still think that this is some sort of hoax. It's pretty bananas that we're living in these times. But if you, and I know somebody Lebanese, and I'm still waiting. Thankfully they don't live in Beirut or in Lebanon. I'm still kind of waiting to hear how they're doing. But I know they must have family or friends there, so I'm sure they're pretty affected. But if you're affected, I hope everything's okay. And I'm trying to pull up the links here, but actually we'll make sure to include some of the links to help, because there's a Lebanese Red Cross and a handful of other things. If you're looking to support the people who were affected by this whole thing, there's going to be opportunities in the show notes. So check those out at hotlou.com/happy hour. Obviously a little bit more somber tone today, given that just wanted to share these like incredibly compelling videos. And I don't know if I can, hopefully none of us are ever in a scenario where we have to concern ourselves with watching a chemical fire in an industrial complex. But if you ever find yourself in that situation, as compelling as it is to try to pull out your phone and record that video or sit there and watch, like if you can see the fire or probably even the smoke, you're probably putting yourself at risk. So, and even if there's an explosion, that's a really compelling reason that just because one explosion went off doesn't mean that all of the fuel for those explosions went off. It could actually just trigger a bigger, more massive explosion, as we've seen now with this Beirut explosion, with the chemical explosion that I just showed, and the Shenzhen one. So I don't know. It seems really absurd that I'm offering advice on how to deal with chemical explosions. So how about we promote tomorrow's show? So with that, I also want to say thanks. I've noticed a ton more people are participating in the comments lately. Dropping likes, comments, shares of the videos are helping a ton. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button or sharing the video or leaving a comment or telling a friend, goes a long way. I'll also remind you that you can watch on YouTube. So you can go back and find old episodes. We have interviewed a ton of people. And by we, I mean my co-host, who's not present and is going to be kind of intermittently joining throughout the month of August. But yeah, check us out on YouTube. Go subscribe. You can hit the subscribe button and then you can hit the bell too. So every time there's a new video, you'll get a push notification. So if you would rather go find it that way, you can. But I know a lot of you love watching the live videos just like you are right now and participating in the polls and the comments and things like that. So, but I have noticed people are picking up on the YouTube channels. Otherwise, you can always go to hotlou.com. And check out past episodes and show notes there. hotlou.com/happy hour is where all of the happy hour things are. And then hotlou.com/show is for the actual podcast that Mike and I did. We had about 33 episodes for about a year, and we're talking about doing a second season for that very soon. So with that, tomorrow, I'm excited to have Josh Clean join the show. Josh Clean is a very talented ultimate player who I coached in high school and on the Minnesota Wind Chill. He plays for the Wind Chill still today. He's also won world championships, high school championships, very nearly. He was a big part of a team that won a college national championship too, just not quite as a player. And we're excited to talk to him because he's talking to Ben Yacht last week was amazing. I'd put Josh Kleen in a different caliber of player. He's more of the like thrower distributor. So he's a little bit more of a quarterback type player, whereas Ben Yacht's more of your type of receiver player. And Josh Kleen famously is an interesting dude. So I'm excited to talk to him about that and talked about the state of sports in general, because he's a little bit of a sports nut too. So I hope you'll tune in tomorrow. Hope you'll go over to YouTube, subscribe there, hit those like buttons, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. We're loving the show. We're just hoping that we can help spread the word to others, because I know the people who are tuning in every day are really enjoying it. So let's spread the love to some more lunatics. Let's build up the base. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning into today's Hot Lou Happy Hour. I am your host, Hot Lou, and we will talk to you tomorrow.